Hey everyone, and welcome back to Pink English.
Hi, everyone. We are so excited to learn with you today.
I'm Sophia, and this is Daniel. Our goal is to make English easy and fun for you.
Exactly. If you enjoy our lessons, please hit the like button and subscribe. It really supports the channel.
Today, we are talking about coffee.
We will practice listening, learn key words and phrases, and boost your confidence. Ready? Let's dive in.
I am so excited about this topic, Daniel. Coffee is more than just a drink for me. It is a morning ritual that helps me wake up and feel ready for the world. I can barely function until I've had my first cup of the day.
I know exactly what you mean, Sophia. My morning does not truly begin until I hear the sound of the coffee machine in my kitchen. There is something so comforting about the warmth of the mug in your hands on a cold morning. Do you drink yours black, or do you like to add things to it?
I usually prefer a little bit of milk, but no sugar. I like to taste the actual flavor of the coffee beans. Sometimes, if I'm feeling fancy, I might make a latte, but most days it is just a simple cup of filter coffee. How about you? Are you a coffee purist?
I think I am a bit of a mix. During the week, when I'm busy and rushing to work, I just need a quick caffeine fix. But on the weekends, I love going to a local cafe and trying something special, like a flat white or a cold brew. There's a great little shop near my house that roasts their own beans, and the smell when you walk in is just incredible.
That smell is one of the best scents in the entire world. It is so inviting. It makes me think of cozy afternoons and good conversations. It's funny how a simple bean can have such a huge impact on our daily lives and even our social culture.
It really is amazing. I was reading the other day that coffee is one of the most traded products in the world. It's everywhere. But I realized I actually know very little about where it comes from or how it became so popular. I just know that I love it.
That is a perfect transition, Daniel. Since we are both such big fans, I thought we could start by exploring the history of this fascinating drink. It has a very long and surprising journey that starts far away from the modern cafes we see today.
I'm ready to learn. I've heard some stories about goats discovering coffee, but I'm not sure if that's just a myth or if there's some truth to it.
It is a very famous legend. It takes us back hundreds of years to the highlands of Ethiopia. They say a goat herder named Kaldi noticed that his goats became very energetic and did not want to sleep at night after eating berries from a certain tree.
That is so funny. Imagine a group of goats dancing around because they had too much caffeine. I feel like those goats sometimes when I have a double espresso. So Kaldi was the first person to realize there was something special about these berries?
That's what the story says. He told the local monks about it, and they started using the berries to stay awake during their long hours of prayer. From there, the knowledge of this energizing fruit began to spread. This brings us to our first very important word for today, which describes how we grow plants like coffee for food or drink. The word is cultivate.
Cultivate. That sounds like a very useful word for anyone interested in gardening or farming. How do you spell that, Sophia?
It's cultivate. Cultivate. To cultivate something means to prepare and use land for growing plants, or to grow a particular crop. For example, we can say that farmers in Ethiopia have been known to cultivate coffee for centuries.
Cultivate. Cultivate. So if I have a small tomato plant in my backyard, am I cultivating tomatoes?
Exactly. You are cultivating them. In the context of coffee, it took a long time for people to learn the best ways to cultivate the plants to get the best flavor. After the discovery in Ethiopia, coffee moved across the Red Sea to Yemen. This is where it really started to become a popular drink in the way we recognize it today.
I've heard of the port of Mocha in Yemen. Is that where the name for the chocolate coffee drink comes from?
You are 100% right. Mocha was a major port and a huge center for the coffee trade. People there were the first to roast the seeds and brew them into a drink. Back then, it was valued mainly because it was a powerful stimulant.
Stimulant. That's another great word. I think I can guess what it means because of the word stimulate, but can you give us the official definition and the spelling?
Of course, stimulant is spelled Stimulant. A stimulant is a substance that raises levels of physiological or nervous activity in the body. It makes you feel more alert and gives you more energy.
Stimulant, stimulant. So caffeine is the stimulant found in coffee that makes us feel awake. I definitely use it as a stimulant every single morning at 7 a.m.
We all do, Daniel. As coffee became more popular in the Arab world, coffee houses began to open. These were places where people would go to drink coffee, listen to music, play chess, and talk about politics. They called them schools of the wise because so much learning happened there.
I love that. It sounds like the original version of the modern internet cafe or a university lounge. When did it finally make its way to Europe? I imagine it must have been a huge hit there, too.
It arrived in Europe in the 17th century, but not everyone liked it at first. Some people were suspicious of this dark, bitter drink from the East. They even called it the bitter invention of Satan. But once people tried it and realized how much more productive they were compared to drinking beer or wine all day, it became incredibly popular.
I can imagine. If people were drinking beer for breakfast before coffee arrived, the world must have been a very sleepy and confused place. Coffee must have really changed how people worked.
It absolutely did. It helped fuel the Age of Enlightenment because people were sitting in coffee houses having deep intellectual conversations while they were wide awake and focused. It became such a valuable item that it turned into a major global commodity.
Commodity. That's a word I hear on the news sometimes when they talk about the economy. Can we break that one down?
Yes, it's a key term for business and trade. It's spelled Commodity. Commodity. A commodity is a raw material or primary agricultural product that can be bought and sold, such as copper or coffee.
Commodity, commodity. So coffee is not just a drink, it's a commodity that is traded on big stock markets all over the world. It's amazing to think that my morning cup is part of such a massive global system.
It really is. And because it's such a popular commodity, people became very focused on the quality of the coffee. They started paying attention to the smell of the beans even before they were brewed. This brings us to a word that we use to describe a pleasant smell, often used for coffee, flowers, or perfume. The word is aroma.
Aroma. I love that word. It sounds much more elegant than just saying smell. Let me try to spell it. Is it Aroma?
Perfect spelling, Daniel. An aroma is a distinctive, typically pleasant smell. When you open a fresh bag of coffee beans, that wonderful scent that hits your nose is the aroma. We could say the rich aroma of fresh coffee filled the entire room.
Aroma, aroma. I think the aroma of coffee is actually one of the things that helps me wake up even before I take a sip. Just smelling it tells my brain that it's time to start the day.
I agree. It's a very powerful sense. It's incredible to think about how coffee traveled from the mountains of Ethiopia to the ports of Yemen, then to the coffee houses of Europe, and eventually to the entire world.
It really has a rich history. I feel like I appreciate my cup of coffee even more now, knowing how far it's come. But Sophia, now that we know the history, I'm curious about the actual process. How does a red berry on a tree in a tropical country end up as the brown liquid in my cup? There must be a lot of steps in between.
You are right, Daniel. The journey from the tree to the cup is quite long and requires a lot of hard work and precision. It's actually a very scientific process, but also an art form.
I've seen pictures of coffee farms, and the plants look like big bushes with green leaves and red berries. Do they just pick the berries and dry them?
That is the very beginning of the process. Those red berries are often called coffee cherries. Inside each cherry, there are usually 2 seeds. These seeds are what we call coffee beans. The first major step in the journey is the harvest.
Harvest. I know this word usually refers to gathering crops at the end of a season. Let's get the spelling and a clear definition for our listeners.
Harvest is spelled Harvest. To harvest means to gather a crop as a harvest. In the coffee world, this is a very difficult job because many high-quality coffee plants grow on steep mountains where machines cannot go.
Harvest. Harvest. So workers have to pick each coffee cherry by hand? That sounds like an incredible amount of work, considering how many millions of cups of coffee are drunk every day.
It is extremely labor-intensive, and for the best coffee, the workers only pick the cherries that are perfectly ripe. They leave the green ones on the tree to ripen further. Once they have a good harvest, they have to remove the fruit from the bean. There are two main ways to do this, the dry method and the wet method.
The wet method sounds like it involves a lot of water. Does that change the flavor of the coffee?
It does. The wet method involves washing the cherries and then using a process called fermentation to remove the sticky layer around the bean.
Oh, fermentation. That is a big word. I know that word from talking about things like yogurt or bread. How do we spell it and use it for coffee?
It is a long one. Fermentation is spelled Fermentation. In this context, it is the chemical breakdown of a substance by bacteria, yeasts, or other microorganisms. In coffee processing, fermentation helps to develop the complex flavors we love.
Fermentation. Fermentation. That is fascinating. So the flavor is actually being created through a chemical process before the beans are even roasted.
Exactly. After the beans are cleaned and dried, they are still green. These are called green coffee beans. They don't smell like coffee yet, and they certainly don't taste like it. They can stay in this state for a long time, which makes them easy to ship around the world.
So when do they become the dark brown beans that I buy at the store? I assume that happens during the roasting part.
You are spot on. Roasting is where the magic happens. The green beans are put into a large machine that heats them up to very high temperatures. This is a very delicate stage. Let's look at the word roast.
Roast is spelled R-O-A-S-T. I use this word when I talk about cooking a chicken in the oven, but for coffee, it means heating the beans to bring out their flavor.
Precisely. R-O-A-S-T. To roast means to cook food, especially meat, without extra liquid in an oven or over a fire. But for coffee, it specifically refers to the process of heating green beans until they turn brown and become brittle. Depending on how long you roast them, you get different levels: light roast, medium roast, or dark roast.
I usually prefer a medium roast because it feels balanced. I have tried dark roasts before, but sometimes they taste a bit too smoky for me. Does the roasting time affect how much caffeine is in the coffee?
That is a common question. Surprisingly, light roasts actually have slightly more caffeine because the beans are roasted for a shorter time, so less caffeine is burned away. But the difference is very small. What changes the most is the acidity and the bitterness.
Acidity. That is a word I hear people use when they're being very serious about their coffee. It sounds like something from a chemistry lab.
It does sound scientific. In the coffee world, acidity refers to a bright, dry, and sparkling sensation that gives the coffee a refreshing quality. It's not like the acid in a battery, it's more like the brightness of a lemon or an apple.
That makes sense. So after the roasting is finished, the beans are ready to be ground up. I have a small grinder at home, but I never know if I should grind them into a fine powder or keep them a bit chunky.
That is a very important detail, Daniel. The way you grind your coffee depends entirely on how you're going to brew it. If you're making espresso, you need a very fine grind. If you're using a French press, you need a coarse grind. The most important thing is the consistency.
Consistency. That is a great word for many parts of life, not just coffee. How do we spell that one?
It's spelled Consistency. Consistency means the quality of always performing in a similar way, or in this case, the thickness or smoothness of a substance.
Consistency. Consistency. So if some of my coffee grounds are big and some are small, I have poor consistency, and my coffee might taste strange.
Exactly. If the consistency is wrong, the water will not extract the flavor from the beans evenly. You might end up with a cup that is both sour and bitter at the same time. We want a perfect extraction to get all those delicious oils and flavors out of the bean.
Extraction. That sounds like another key term. It's like pulling something out, right?
Yes, it's spelled Extraction. Extraction is the action of taking something out, especially using effort or force. In coffee, it's the process of water dissolving the flavors from the coffee grounds.
Extraction. Extraction. It's amazing how many steps there are. We go from the harvest to the fermentation, then the roasting, then the grind, and finally the extraction. No wonder people take coffee so seriously.
It really is a journey. Each step has to be done correctly to produce a high-quality cup. People who study this in depth are often called baristas or even coffee experts. They spend years learning how to control all these variables.
I have so much respect for baristas now. When I see them working those big espresso machines, it looks like they're conducting an orchestra. It seems very sophisticated.
Sophisticated, that's a perfect word to describe the modern coffee scene. Let's spell that one for everyone.
I'll take this one. Sophisticated is spelled Sophisticated. It means having, revealing, or proceeding from a great deal of worldly experience and knowledge of fashion and culture. Or in terms of a process, it means something that is complex and developed.
Perfect definition. Sophisticated. The equipment and the techniques used in modern coffee shops are definitely sophisticated. It's a long way from Caldi and his dancing goats.
It really is. I feel like I've learned so much about what goes into my daily cup. It makes me want to slow down and really taste the coffee next time I have one. I usually just gulp it down while I'm looking at my emails, but now I want to look for that aroma and the acidity you mentioned.
That's the best way to enjoy it. Coffee is meant to be experienced, not just consumed. And speaking of experiences, there are so many different ways people enjoy coffee around the world. The social side of coffee is just as important as the science of how it's made.
I agree. In some cultures, coffee is a very formal thing, and in others, it's just a quick shot standing at a bar. I would love to talk more about how we use coffee to connect with other people.
That is a wonderful idea. Coffee has always been a social lubricant, something that helps people talk and share ideas. Whether you're meeting a friend for a catch-up or having a business meeting, coffee is usually there in the middle of the table.
It really is the universal drink for socializing. I think it's time we look at some real-life situations where we might use all this coffee knowledge. It's one thing to know the history and the science, but it's another thing to actually order a coffee or talk about it with a friend in English.
You're right, Daniel. Let's think about how we can take all these words like aroma, roast, and extraction and use them in a real conversation. It will help our listeners feel much more confident when they walk into a coffee shop anywhere in the world.
That sounds like a plan, Sophia. I think many of our listeners might feel a bit nervous when they walk into a very fancy, modern coffee shop. There are so many options on the menu, and sometimes it feels like you need a degree in coffee science just to order a simple drink.
It can definitely be intimidating. Let's pretend we are in one of those high-end specialty cafes right now. I will be the barista, the person who makes and serves the coffee, and you can be a customer who is looking for something specific but isn't quite sure what to choose.
I love it. I will put on my curious customer hat. I am walking into the shop now. The smell is amazing, and I see a lot of glass equipment and shiny machines on the counter.
Good morning. Welcome to the Golden Bean. How are you doing today?
I am doing well, thank you. I must say, your menu is a bit overwhelming. I see so many different origins and brewing methods. I usually just drink a regular drip coffee at home, but I wanted to treat myself today.
We love helping people find their perfect cup. If you usually like drip coffee, you might enjoy one of our pour-over options. We have a beautiful Ethiopian Yirgacheffe right now that is very light and floral, or a Sumatran bean that is much more earthy and full-bodied.
Earthy and floral. I have heard those words before, but I'm not sure I know what they mean in terms of taste.
Great question. When we say a coffee is floral, it means it has notes that remind you of flowers, like jasmine or lavender. It is usually very delicate. Earthy coffee, on the other hand, is heavier and might remind you of the smell of a forest after it rains. It is very rich and deep.
The floral one sounds very interesting. I think I will give that a try. But wait, I see something on the menu called a cold brew and something else called an iced Americano. Are those the same thing?
That is a very common point of confusion. They are actually quite different. An iced Americano is made by taking hot espresso shots and pouring them over cold water and ice. A cold brew is never heated. We steep the grounds in cold water for about 18 to 24 hours.
24 hours? That is a long time to wait for a cup of coffee.
It is, but we do the waiting for you. Because the water is cold, it doesn't extract the same bitter oils that hot water does. The result is a much smoother, naturally sweeter drink with very low acidity.
That sounds delicious, actually. But I think I will stick with the Ethiopian pour-over for now. I want to see if I can taste those floral notes you mentioned.
Excellent choice. I'll get started on that for you. It will take about 4 minutes because I have to pour the water over the grounds in specific stages to ensure the best extraction. Would you like to watch?
I would love to. It looks like a very precise process.
It really is. I start by blooming the coffee. I pour just a little bit of water to let the gases escape from the fresh grounds. See how it bubbles up? That is a sign of very fresh beans.
That is fascinating. I never knew coffee could bubble like that. While you're doing that, I have to ask, I saw a sign that says Fair Trade Certified on the wall. What does that mean exactly?
I am so glad you asked. Fair trade is a movement that ensures farmers in developing countries are paid a fair price for their crops. It also promotes better working conditions and environmental sustainability. When you buy fair trade coffee, you're helping to make sure the industry is ethical.
Ethical. That's an important word. It makes me feel better about my purchase knowing that the person who grew these beans is being treated fairly.
Exactly. It makes the coffee taste even better. Here you go, one Ethiopian pour-over. Give it a try and tell me what you think.
Wow, it is so different from what I drink at home. It's almost like tea. It's very light, and I think I actually can smell the flowers in it. It's not bitter at all.
I'm so happy you like it. That's the magic of specialty coffee. It can have so many different personalities depending on where it's from and how it's made.
That was a great scenario, Sophia. I feel like I learned so much just by playing the customer. I noticed you used some very specific phrases that might be a bit tricky for English learners.
You're right. Let's break character for a moment and look at some of those advanced concepts. The first one I want to highlight is a term I used to describe the taste: full-bodied.
Full-bodied. That sounds like it describes the weight of the coffee in your mouth, right?
Exactly. Full-bodied is spelled Fullbodied. In the world of drinks like coffee or wine, full-bodied refers to a drink that feels thick, rich, and heavy on the tongue. It's the opposite of a light or thin drink.
Fullbodied. Full-bodied. So if I'm drinking a very creamy latte or a dark roast that feels heavy, I could say it's full-bodied.
Precisely. Another phrase I used was treat myself. I said you wanted to treat yourself today.
I love this phrase. It's such a positive one. Treat is spelled T-R-E-A-T. To treat yourself means to do something special for yourself or to buy yourself something nice that you usually don't have.
Treat. Treat yourself. For example, after a long week of hard work, I might treat myself to a fancy dessert or a professional massage. In our scenario, you were treating yourself to a premium cup of coffee.
It's a great idiom to use when you're talking about self-care or rewards. Now, what about the word sustainable? You mentioned environmental sustainability when we were talking about fair trade.
That is a very important word today's world. Sustainable is spelled Sustainable. It refers to a method of using resources so that the resource is not depleted or permanently damaged. It means something can be continued for a long time without causing harm to the environment.
Sustainable. Sustainable. So sustainable farming means the farmers are taking care of the land so they can keep growing coffee for many years to come.
Correct. And finally, I used the word blooming when I was making the pour over. In a coffee context, blooming, spelled Blooming, is when you pour a small amount of water over fresh coffee grounds and wait for them to release carbon dioxide. It makes the coffee taste much cleaner.
Blooming. Blooming. I usually think of flowers blooming in the spring, so it's a very beautiful way to describe coffee preparing itself to be brewed.
It really is. Now, Daniel, that was a very relaxed, educational scenario in a specialty shop. But we know that coffee isn't always about slow, artistic brewing. Sometimes it's about speed and efficiency, especially in a professional setting or a busy office.
Oh, I know that environment very well. The office coffee machine is often the most popular place in the building. It's where people gather to take a break and talk about their work.
Let's transition to a different kind of scenario. This time, let's imagine we are colleagues in a fast-paced office. We're in the break room, and we're both feeling a bit stressed and tired.
I can definitely play that role. I'll be the stressed-out project manager, and you can be a senior executive who also needs caffeine boost.
Sounds perfect. Let's begin.
Okay, Sophia. I didn't expect to see you here at the coffee machine for the third time today. Rough morning?
You could say that, Daniel. I've been in back-to-back meetings since 8 a.m., and I have a huge presentation for the board this afternoon. I'm running on fumes.
I hear you. I'm right there with you. This new project launch has been a total whirlwind. I feel like I'm constantly putting out fires. I really need this coffee to kick in soon so I can focus on my spreadsheets.
I hear you. You know, I was actually going to suggest that we grab a proper coffee outside the office later. This machine coffee is okay for a quick fix, but it's a bit lackluster, don't you think?
Lackluster is a generous word for it. It tastes like hot bean water. I would love to get out of the building for 20 minutes. I think a change of scenery would do us both some good.
I agree. It's so easy to get bogged down in the daily grind and forget to take a breather. There's a new cafe around the corner that supposedly has the best espresso in the city.
I've heard about that place. I think it's called the Daily Roast. They use those high-end machines we were talking about earlier. I would definitely be up for a quick trip there once I finish this email.
Great, it's a deal. You know, they say that some of the best business decisions are made over a cup of coffee, not in a boardroom.
I believe it. It is much easier to be creative when you aren't staring at a flickering fluorescent light. By the way, how do you take your coffee when you're out? Do you stick to your usual milk, no sugar, or do you go for something stronger?
If I am really tired, I will get a double shot macchiato. It is small, but very potent. It gives me that immediate jolt of energy without making me feel too full. How about you?
I think I'm going to try a flat white. I like the velvety texture of the microfoam. It feels a bit more indulgent than a regular latte.
That sounds perfect. Let's aim for 3 p.m. It'll be the perfect afternoon pick-me-up before your big launch and my presentation.
It is a date. Well, a coffee date. I'll meet you at the elevators.
See you then. And back to our teacher roles. That was a very different vibe, wasn't it? Much more focused on work and the need for energy.
Definitely. And we used some great office-related idioms and phrases that our listeners can use in their professional lives.
Let's start with the phrase running on fumes. I said I was running on fumes because I had been in so many meetings.
That is a very common expression in English. It comes from the idea of a car running out of gas, but still moving because of the tiny amount of fuel vapor or fumes left in the tank.
Exactly. To be running on fumes means to continue to stay active or work even though you have no energy left. It's spelled F-U-M-E-S.
F-U-M-E-S, running on fumes. I think we've all felt that way at the end of a long day. It's a very descriptive way to say you are exhausted.
Then you mentioned putting out fires. You said you were constantly putting out fires with your new project.
This is a classic business idiom. It doesn't mean there's an actual fire with smoke and flames. It means you're spending all your time dealing with urgent problems that keep appearing, rather than doing your regular work.
It is a very useful phrase for anyone in a high-pressure job. Another one I used was bogged down. I said it's easy to get bogged down in the daily grind.
Bogged is spelled B-O-G-G-E-D. A bog is a type of wet, muddy ground that is easy to sink into. So, to get bogged down means to become so involved in something difficult or complicated that you cannot make any progress.
Bogged, bogged down. And I combined it with the daily grind. The daily grind refers to the boring, repetitive, and often difficult routine of daily work.
So the daily grind is the work itself, and getting bogged down is the feeling of being stuck in it. I love how those two work together.
We also mentioned the word lackluster. You said the office coffee was lackluster.
Lackluster is spelled L-A-C-K-L-U-S-T-E-R. It means lacking in vitality, force, or conviction, uninspired or uninspiring. Basically, if something is lackluster, it's boring and not very good.
Lackluster, lackluster. A movie can be lackluster, a performance can be lackluster, or, as we said, a cup of coffee can be lackluster.
And finally, we use the term pick-me-up. You said the afternoon coffee would be a perfect pick-me-up.
This is a very common informal term. It's spelled Pickmeup. A pick-me-up is something that makes you feel more energetic or cheerful, especially a drink or a snack.
Pickmeup, pick-me-up. Coffee is probably the most famous pick-me-up in the world, but a piece of chocolate or a quick walk could also be a pick-me-up.
Those were two very different scenarios, but they both show how central coffee is to our lives, whether we're exploring the complex flavors of a specialty bean or just trying to survive a busy day at the office. Coffee is our constant companion.
It really is. I feel like our listeners now have the vocabulary to handle a fancy cafe and a busy office break room, but there's still more to talk about, especially when it comes to the etiquette of coffee.
You're right. Ordering the coffee is just the first part. Then there's the social aspect, how we behave when we're drinking it with others, and how coffee culture varies from place to place.
I've noticed that in some countries it's considered rude to take your coffee to go, while in others everyone is walking around with a paper cup in their hand. It's so interesting how one drink can have such different rules depending on where you are.
That's a great point. The to-go culture is a very specific phenomenon. It says a lot about the pace of life in a society. In Italy, for example, people often stand at the bar to drink their espresso quickly and then leave. It's a social but very fast interaction.
And then you have countries like Sweden with their fika tradition, where taking a break for coffee and a snack is almost a mandatory part of the day. It's more about slowing down than speeding up.
I love the idea of fika. It emphasizes that the break is just as important as the work. It's about connection and taking a moment to breathe. This leads us perfectly into our next topic, which is the social etiquette and cultural norms surrounding coffee.
I'm looking forward to that. I think many people might be worried about making a social mistake when they're invited for coffee or when they're in a foreign country.
It can be a bit of a minefield, but don't worry, we'll guide you through it. Knowing the local coffee language and customs can make a huge difference in how comfortable you feel.
For example, if someone says, "Let's grab coffee sometime," do they actually mean they want to have coffee, or is it just a polite way of saying goodbye?
Ah, the classic social mystery. In many English-speaking cultures, that can be a bit vague. We should definitely talk about how to tell the difference and how to respond appropriately.
I think that will be very helpful. It's all about those subtle social cues that aren't always taught in textbooks.
Exactly. Coffee is a language of its own, and we're here to help everyone become fluent in it. Not just the words, but the feeling and culture behind it, too.
I feel like I need a coffee just talking about all of this, but I'll wait until we finish our lesson. It's too interesting to stop now.
That's the spirit, Daniel. Let's keep going and explore how coffee acts as a bridge between people and cultures.
It's amazing how a simple invitation to have a drink can lead to a lifelong friendship or a major career move. It's all about that shared experience over a warm mug.
It really is. Let's look closer at how to navigate these social waters.
It is fascinating to see how coffee bridges the gap between a high-end artistic experience and the fast-paced world of a corporate office. It shows that no matter who you are or what you do, coffee likely plays some role in your social life.
I think this is a great time to talk about the cultural side of things, because coffee culture is not the same everywhere you go.
You are so right, Daniel. If you travel to different countries, you will see very different habits. For example, in the United States, there is a very strong to-go culture. You see people walking down the street, riding the subway, or driving their cars with these huge paper cups. It's all about mobility and fitting the drink into a busy schedule.
I have noticed that, and often those cups are quite large. In some other places, like Italy or France, if you ordered a giant cup of coffee to carry around while you shop, people might look at you a bit strangely. There, coffee is often a reason to stop and sit down, even if just for 5 minutes. It's a moment of rest.
Exactly. And in some cultures, there's a very specific etiquette, which is a fancy word for social rules, about how you drink it. Let's look at that word. Etiquette is spelled E-T-I-Q-U-E-T-T-E. It refers to the customary code of polite behavior in society or among members of a particular profession or group.
Etiquette. Etiquette. So in Italy, the etiquette is that you usually don't order a cappuccino after 11 a.m., right? They think milk is only for the morning.
That is a very famous rule. If you order a cappuccino at 4 p.m. in Rome, the barista might give you a funny look because they believe milk after a large meal is bad for digestion. Understanding these little pieces of etiquette helps you blend in and show respect for the local culture.
That is a great tip. Now, what about the social invitation to grab coffee? In English-speaking countries, this is one of the most common ways to ask someone to hang out or have a meeting. But does it always mean you have to drink coffee?
Not at all. Grab a coffee is often just a code for let's talk. You can easily order tea, hot chocolate, or even a juice. The coffee is just the excuse to get together. However, there is a bit of a social trick to this. If someone says, we should grab coffee sometime, and they don't suggest a specific day or time, it might just be a polite way of saying goodbye without any real plans.
Ah, the polite but vague invitation. So if you really want to meet someone, you should say, let's grab coffee on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Being specific shows that you are serious about the invitation.
Exactly. And when you're actually at the cafe with a friend, there's the question of who pays. This is another area where social norms are important. In many places, it's common to go Dutch, which means everyone pays for their own drink.
Go Dutch. That is an interesting phrase. Does it have anything to do with the Netherlands?
It's an old idiom, and while the origin is debated, today it simply means to split the bill. But if you want to be extra kind, you might say, it's on me, or my treat. This shows a bit of generosity, spelled Generosity. Generosity, which is the quality of being kind and generous.
Generosity. Generosity. I usually try to show some generosity if it's a friend's birthday or if I'm thanking them for a favor. It makes the whole coffee experience feel more like a gift.
It really does. Now, Daniel, what if someone invites you for coffee but you don't drink caffeine? Or maybe it's too late in the day and you're worried about sleeping. How do you politely decline or change the order? That's a situation I find myself in often. I'm quite sensitive to caffeine, so if I drink it after 4 p.m., I will be wide awake at midnight. I usually say I would love to go, but I think I'll stick to decaf.
Decaf is a great word to know. It's short for decaffeinated. Let's spell out the full version for our listeners. It's Decafeinated. It means the caffeine has been removed from the beans.
Decafeinated. Decaffeinated. It's a long word, so most people just say decaf. You can also make a polite excuse if you don't want anything at all. You could say, I've actually reached my caffeine limit for the day, but I'd love to join you for the conversation.
That is a perfect way to handle it. It's honest, but still friendly. Another thing to consider is the cafe office etiquette. Since many people work from their laptops in coffee shops these days, there's a silent rule about how long you can stay.
Oh, I see people sitting for 5 hours with just a small espresso. Is that considered rude?
In many places, yes. The general rule is that if you're using the shop's Wi-Fi and taking up a table, you should buy something every hour or two. It's about supporting the business. It's a shared space, so we have to be mindful of others who might want a seat.
That makes sense. It's all about that balance between enjoying the space and being a good customer. I also think it's worth mentioning the coffee snob versus the coffee enthusiast.
That's a funny distinction. A coffee snob is someone who is very critical of coffee and thinks only their way of drinking it is correct. They might look down on people who add sugar or milk. But a coffee enthusiast is just someone who loves learning about coffee and appreciates the quality without being mean about it.
I definitely want to be an enthusiast, not a snob. I think the key is to have a preference, spelled Prefrence, but still be open to how others enjoy their drink.
Prefrence. A preference is a greater liking for one alternative over another. My preference is for a latte, but I would never judge you for drinking black coffee.
Exactly. Diversity is what makes the world and the coffee world so interesting. We've talked about the history, the science of brewing, the office life, and the social rules. I feel like we've covered a whole world in just one episode.
We really have. It's amazing how much depth there is in such a common object. I hope our listeners feel like they can walk into any cafe in London, New York, or Sydney and feel totally at ease.
I think they will. But before we finish, Sophia, I think we should help everyone lock in what they've learned. We've introduced a lot of vocabulary today.
You are right. It's time for our vocabulary masterclass. We've selected 10 of the most important words from today's lesson. Let's go through them one by one to make sure they stick.
I'll start with the first one. Our first word was cultivate, cultivate. To cultivate means to grow a crop or develop a skill, like farmers who cultivate coffee beans in Ethiopia.
Second is stimulant, stimulant. A stimulant is something that increases activity in the body and makes you feel more awake, like the caffeine in your morning cup.
Third is commodity, commodity. A commodity is a raw material that is bought and sold in large amounts, like coffee, gold, or oil.
Fourth is aroma, aroma. An aroma is a pleasant, distinctive smell. It's that wonderful scent of fresh coffee beans.
Fifth is harvest, harvest. To harvest means to gather a crop. In coffee, this is often done by hand to pick only the best cherries.
Sixth is fermentation, fermentation. This is the natural process where bacteria or yeast break down substances, helping to develop the complex flavors in the coffee bean.
Seventh is roast, roast. To roast means to heat the green coffee beans until they turn brown and develop their characteristic flavor and smell.
Eighth is consistency, consistency. This refers to the thickness or the uniformity of something, like having the same size of coffee grounds for a perfect brew.
Ninth is extraction, extraction. This is the process of using water to pull the flavors and oils out of the coffee grounds.
And 10th is sophisticated, sophisticated. This describes something that is complex, advanced, or shows a lot of cultural knowledge, like the modern world of specialty coffee.
That is a powerful list of words. If you can use these in a conversation, you will definitely sound like an advanced English speaker.
Absolutely. And now we have our question of the day for all of you listening at home or on your commute. We want to hear from you in the comments section.
Our question is, what is your favorite way to drink coffee? Do you have a specific morning ritual, or is there a special coffee tradition in your country that we didn't mention?
Please share your stories with us. We love reading about your different cultures and personal preferences. It helps us all learn from each other.
Well, Sophia, I think that brings us to the end of today's lesson. I have to say, I have a sudden craving for a high-quality Ethiopian pour-over now.
Me too, Daniel. Let's go find a local cafe and practice our coffee etiquette. Thank you so much for joining us today on Pink English.
Yes, thank you everyone. If you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with a friend who's also learning English. Every bit of support helps us keep making these lessons for you.
We'll see you in the next episode for more English learning fun. Until then, keep practicing, keep curious, and enjoy your next cup of coffee.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.